All right, we're live. You're live. I'm live. Okay. So today we're talking about imposter syndrome. This is from Inc. And if you go to page 2, uh, we'll look at the verb. So number 1, neuroscience. Neuroscience is basically the study of your brain and the nervous system, right? It's especially becoming more advanced lately. It's kind of taken a long time to become to get this far. And lately, the latest advances in neuroscience are the effects of drug use on the brain and stuff, and how it affects like anxiety and depression and stuff. It's kind of interesting. Number 2, inferiority complex. So inferiority, when you break that down, like to feel inferior, you feel like you're not as good as other people, or that you're less than or less adequate. And complex is a kind of mindset that you convince yourself or that you live in that is hard to get out of, and that you project that mindset onto other people, and that can be kind of difficult for other people as well. So to have an inferiority complex, that means you have this unrealistically low feeling about yourself, and you try to make up for it by overcompensating. You try to be a little bit more aggressive or show off more, or you try to be a little bit more outspoken to other people. And what happens is, you're trying to project yourself to be greater than other people. So it can be quite uncomfortable for a lot of other people. Number 3, imposter, which is basically a fake, a fraud, someone who pretends to be somebody else. A lot of times when you hear about a scam, there's people that are imposters, especially phishing scams when people call you and they pretend to be like somebody else. That's an imposter. Now, imposter syndrome is basically the official, I guess, like professional term for inferiority complex. Someone that they feel like they're fake, so they try to make up for it in different ways. Number 4, this is probably my favorite one. It says call out. I think it should be called out now that I think of it. So the way this works is if somebody kind of openly points you out and criticizes you or puts you on the spot, or they reprimand you, or they hold you accountable for something in front of everybody, in front of other people. So it makes you feel a bit kind of surprised and maybe a little bit upset or embarrassed. The way this happens is if you show up to a meeting at work, you're 5 minutes late, you show up to this meeting, and then the supervisor stops the meeting and says, "Why were you late?" Your supervisor just called you out in front of everybody. And you can respond too. You can say, "Wow, I can't believe you called me out in front of everybody." Like, yeah. This can happen with your friends. Your friends can call you out, or even like if you're married, your spouse can call you out. I don't want you to go out and spend too much money, in front of everybody, So anybody can call you out really, and it's kind of an uncomfortable feeling. 5, skip that. 6, underlie. So usually when something is underlying, it is like the cause of something, the basis or even the foundation of why something is happening. Probably the most common way that we use this is when you talk about a problem. Let's say at the workplace you have a specific process that you do for your work, but every time you reach a certain point in the process, there's always some kind of problem, and everybody has it. So that means that if you consistently have this pattern and everybody's hitting the same problem, that you have some kind of underlying problem or underlying cause of why that's happening. So what your next logical reaction would be is to find the underlying cause or underlying problem and solve it. And those are our vocabulary. Bye.